Hello everyone and welcome to our Game Week 17 preview show. I'm Chris and Kieran is here too as always. In tonight's show, like I mentioned, we're going to preview Game Week 17. We've got a few fixture swings to look at with teams approaching some tricky ones, and we're looking at which teams are on the up. We're going to obviously bookend that by looking at how we got on last game week, as well as sharing our lineups and our transfer headaches. But first, Kieran, hey, how you doing?
How's it going?
Yeah, I think good. I'm looking forward to the Carabao Cup midweek, and even though last game week I think it was a bit underwhelming, even with all those home fixtures. So,
yeah. Well, the teams on paper looked amazing, didn't they? And just especially all those three captains who ended up doing naffle, really.
Yeah, I know that. I thought it was even though it was. Yeah, you're right. Even though there was lots of captaincy spread, because they all blanked, the good game week to a bad game week was basically 5 to 10 points either side of the average, if that makes sense. So it wasn't any huge swings. So yeah, bring on game week 17. Let's take it through how you got on, first of all.
Sure. Okay. So 59 points in the end. It was a green arrow from 28k to 21k, so that's obviously good.
Mm-hmm.
The Fabianski Verbruggen thing is a nightmare. I can't seem to get that right. Verbruggen has just been terrible since I got him. Should have just kept Henderson on the wild card, and he would have been much better. But Hall coming in clutch, which was fantastic. With those he's literally hauled, as you say. 15 points, lovely. Gabriel with 3 bonus of the clean sheet, nice. Good thing he was fit, obviously. So Nori, lovely red card after the final whistle. Then I had Cucurella do the same thing on my bench. I had two. I don't think I've had 2 in the same game week of 2 players getting red carded after the final whistle. So I don't think that's probably ever happened before. Palmer captain. I decided in the end. I figured it felt like the more open fixture. But didn't really do anything. Sneaked a bonus point, which was decent. Kept with Bruno against City. Glad I did. Obviously, 9 points. Decent differential at the moment. So that was good. Saka blanking. Jackson coming in with some points. Pedro and Vissa doing nothing. I'm getting kind of a bit tired of Pedro as well. But he does have good fixtures and is good value.
Yeah.
But maybe should have started Cucurella. But is what it is. I think the team did fine, I suppose.
Yeah, it looks. I kind of agree. I don't think I would have swapped out Nori for Cucurella either, to be honest. I'm a bit fed up with Pedro as well, and I haven't owned him very long. I kind of felt like this was what it was going to be like. He just always seems to me to be underwhelming. He doesn't seem like the out-and-out striker. He's not super selfish.
He was very wide. He was just all over the place for this that game. His positioning was just he was playing left back, sometimes he looked like he was playing DM. It was
he was meant to be number 9, wasn't he, with Welbeck out?
Exactly, and it didn't seem to be like that.
And Brighton's form recently has actually been quite bad. I was I kind of fancied him to beat Palace quite comfortably in that game.
Same.
They've gone off it a little bit, and I'm looking at, even though he's such a low price, I'm not expecting much. It's just he's been a bit underwhelming recently in games where he should have returned. On my side, it was similar. So I went for Salah captain in the end, and their XG against Fulham was great, considering they had 10 minutes. It was the most Fulham had conceded all season. So I feel like maybe obviously Robinson looked like it was a definite red card, but perhaps a bit unlucky because 10 minutes or 11 men the whole game, it might have been a bit different. But anyway, I was pleased about that, I suppose. Trying to think what else happened. Milenkovic got another goal, which was great. So he's backing up that goal threat he's had from set pieces this season. Gabriel, obviously. Trent underwhelming with just that single point at home. That was about it really. Cunha goal and 3 bonus. I was gonna I benched Mbuemo for Semenyo, which on paper looked like a good move, but now I had a little look back over the course of the season. And I think probably this season has probably been the first one where I've tried to have a valid 8th attacker. And it's now 3 game weeks out of 16 where I've rotated the team to accommodate the 8th attacker, and the 8th attacker has outscored a number of players that have started. So it is kind of making me reevaluate that 8th attacker slot because I hate having the bench points, and maybe like just having a 4.5 million mid that I feel comfortable benching every week and then investing that money again.
Is there even a 4.5 million mid that plays? I don't even think there is there?
Dibbling I had a look at it earlier. Dibbling just about plays, at least an appearance point. So I don't know. It just feels a bit of a bogey really, because it's like 3 times in 16. Even though it's not a lot, it's probably like 15 points roughly, and that over the season is quite a lot. So it's just something I'm considering. But otherwise I think the game week was alright. Wood was close to returning as well, so that could have been better. But yeah, it was another green arrow, so can't complain about that really.
Yep, nice.
Cool, right, let's get on to tippy topics. Starting with which teams have got bad fixtures and who are we looking to get out, basically.
Yeah, so teams to sort of or assets that we've all sort of owned for a while that we should be sort of getting rid of now with the fixture swings coming up. So Wolves is obviously a major one.
Mm-hmm.
Cunha looking like he's probably going to get a ban. Aït-Nouri just been banned for obviously his red card. So obviously this Leicester fixture looks pretty good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Leicester conceding shots for fun at the moment, and just like conceding lots of goals as well, obviously. If you still have Cunha and it doesn't get banned, then I think he's probably not an immediate sell.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like the rest of the Wolves assets, if you have anyone other than Aït-Nouri and Cunha, like I think they're absolutely a sell. So yeah, Cunha is like the 3rd highest scoring forward at the moment. He's 1 point behind Wood, and Wood, everyone seems to love Wood. Wood's having a great season. But he's returned in tough matches against like Chelsea, Villa, Brighton, and obviously the fixtures coming up are after this Leicester game. Man United, Tottenham, Forest at home, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal. So they're about as rough as it could possibly get, I would say. So they obviously had that terrible fixture run at the start of the season as well, where like they just had no green fixtures, and this is come back around again, and they've got no green fixtures until game week 27 after this Leicester game. So they are an absolute immediate sell. Other than maybe you could keep Cunha if he's not going to get banned. A second team to probably pivot away from is probably Brentford. I think some people have Flecken, some people have like Van der Berg as a 4.0 defender. Obviously, Mbeumo and Wissa owners. I'm a Wissa owner, you're an Mbeumo owner. You could make arguments to keep the attackers, but like Nottingham Forest is obviously tough this week. Brighton is not easy. Then they've got Arsenal, City, Liverpool back-to-back in a block of 4. They've got Southampton in the middle of that, and then Crystal Palace at the end of them. But like Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool all seem rough. Forest as well. Like the good thing is that they're home fixtures and they do seem to score well at home. But I think Mbeumo probably not an immediate sell. On pens, you probably could keep him. But Wissa on the other hand, in my team, I think he probably is a sell just because I'm looking at Isak, who I don't have in my team. He's just not on penalties. He's getting a little bit more reduced minutes at the moment, and I think he's probably a sell. Even though he does seem to be sort of close to a rise on this, like the FPL statistics and stuff like that, with price rises. So I don't know really why people are buying him, but there you go. And then you're a Flecken owner. Again, no clean sheet, but he did make 6 saves, so decent enough. You probably could keep him because he's going to make a lot of saves, but he's probably not going to keep clean sheets in pretty much any of these, apart from maybe Southampton away. But I've counted against Southampton a few times clean sheets and it's not gone well. So I think he probably would be a sell but at the same time, using transfers on keepers is not good either.
It's not fun, is it?
No. Do you want to pivot into teams that have good fixtures coming up? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I was just having a look on the fixture ticker on the Hub website as well to see who else like is considered having a bad fixture. Bournemouth as well, like players who I own. Like 4 of their next 6 are away and reasonably tough. Man United, Fulham away, Chelsea away, Newcastle away. That's tough. You've always mentioned Wolves and Brentford there. I think Tottenham have got some tough away games against Forest and Arsenal. I don't think that's too bad, but I think there's and even Brighton listed here. So there's definitely like teams who have a lot of ownership in their mid-priced assets coming up against rough times. I think that the interesting thing just on Brentford quickly, because I still own Mbeumo and he's obviously returned in back-to-back games now after a lot of people sold him. He's only still blanked once at home this season, and like you mentioned, those home games against tough teams, Forest this weekend, who've got obviously good defensive record, Arsenal, City and Liverpool, will really test that home resolve. And I don't know, I'm kind of erring to the side of keeping him and seeing how he gets on, because he's 90 minutes on pen set pieces. A bit like Chelsea, I didn't expect him to get much, but he was played further forward and he took his chance well, and maybe could have even had a second goal. So yeah, he might be worth keeping longer term.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many players around his price that are worth getting. Like Maddison is probably the only other one who's just below him in points, but he's same price. There's Bruno around that sort of, who's a bit more expensive, but other than that, there isn't really anyone around that price point to pivot to, really.
No, so he's even though he's definitely coming up with some rough fixtures, it will. I want to see how well he can combat these tough ones really with his home form, but. Yeah, happy to move on to teams with good fixtures.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, I think, especially after the bounce of beating City at the weekend, I think Man United are definitely interesting with the games they've got coming up. So, having a look at the fixture ticker, they've got 3 nice looking home games in the next 5. So that's Bournemouth, Newcastle, Southampton. But if you have like a wider view on the FPL site, essentially, basically until game week 28, so the early part of March, there are only 2 sort of tricky games on paper: Spurs away and Liverpool away. They've sort of got some nice long periods of decent games, really, and they are showing slightly better performance, especially from both from an attacking and a defensive side of things. So it's a good time to potentially get on board with that with a nice home fixture. So their team stats in the last 5 game weeks, they're the 8th best for expected goals conceded, so that's 6.3. Despite playing City and Arsenal away in that time, is actually quite impressive, better than you'd expect it to be with those teams in there. Their expected goals numbers are not great. They're the 8th worst for that, 5.6, and then again perhaps because that has been playing City and Arsenal away, and they've been looking for ways to combat that. I suppose the positive to look at from United is they are actually scoring goals at home again, and they have got some nice home fixtures coming up, like I mentioned. So they've scored 3, 4 and 2 in the 3 home games under Amorim so far. However, the top performing players for United, who I would say have been Bruno and Ahmad, actually haven't had that great underlying data. So Bruno at 8.4 million, still 14% owned. So like you say, like a differential still, and I think for you, he's good because he doesn't his numbers aren't good, but he's returning, so it feels like he may still stay like a bit of a differential. So in the last 5 game weeks, he's the 11th highest scoring player. He's overperforming his expected points. He's had 24 expected to 31 actual, so not a huge overperformance. Surprisingly, his expected assists total in that time is 0.9, so that's 20th of all players. And then if you actually take away his pens that he's had recently, he's actually not inside the top 50 players for expected goals in that period either. So to get as many points as he has done, so if I just jump and have a look at his points recently, he's basically had 2 back-to-back 9s, the blank against Arsenal, and then the 9 points against Everton. Yeah, to basically to come out with 30 odd points in that run with the numbers he has been producing is, like I mentioned, he's overperforming. But I think that works if you own him, because he's obviously being clinical enough to pick up these points, and with better fixtures on the horizon, you'd expect him to continue to return more. But one thing that is interesting with Bruno is he's always been like a bit of an X-minutes monster, but he has been taken off early in 2 of Amorim's first 5 games, which is unusual. That Forest game at home, when they were obviously chasing the game, Everton is understandable when they were...
Congestion, I would imagine.
I guess it's congestion. So maybe he'll see reduced minutes over these 3 sort of quick succession games. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And then on the other side of things, for another midfielder for United, obviously Ahmad is getting loads of attention after just basically a big haul against City, and the fact that he's returned so well. So basically since Leicester, with game week 11, when he's been in the side 90 minutes, you can see on the screen here, but he's had 7 returns in those 6 games, which is, for his price point, fantastic. It's similar to what Enzo's done, which I don't think we could have predicted. But 4 out of the 5 times he's played 90 minutes in the league under Amorim, he's had a total of 0.45 expected assist total. He's got 5 assists off the back of that. So the overperformance there is huge. Like, he's massive. So maybe that's unsustainable. I would say it probably is. And if you look at his like expected points against his actual, his expected points in that game range is 20. He's actually had 38. So he's overperforming a lot, and it's just same with Bruno really. But on the flip side of that, I think the fixtures are there for those expected numbers to improve and the returns to improve. Because
do you think the expected points have been so low because of Mins? They didn't expect him to play all the time.
Yeah,
probably.
I think probably a mixture of the Mins and like the fixtures. Whereas now, like I say, it was a small sample size with 5 and 2 of them being tough away. But like a longer run here of like 10 or 12 fixtures in a row where maybe only 2 of them are deemed as difficult, you would expect that he has more chances of returns and better quality return chances. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think he seems good. Is obviously a threat like everyone's going to have a rotation, but Ahmad and Bruno look good. But just comparing Ahmad, because I got a bit on Chelsea later, and I didn't want to. I'll go into Enzo now because I think they're a similar price point, and both teams have got good fixtures. He's probably being outperformed by Enzo. So in the last 5 game weeks, Enzo's higher on XG and he's higher on XA, but his expected goal involvement is lower. That's his Enzo. So it's basically he's had less expected goal involvement, likely because Chelsea score more goals and he's involved in fewer. But it seems like he individually he's performing better than Ahmad, and at the same price point with good fixtures, there's definitely a choice or to be made between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Bruno for me is obviously his numbers aren't great, and then he's also the cash cow on my team, and he's basically the only way for me to get to Isak. And with Ahmad doing well, I've already got triple up on Chelsea. Can't get Enzo. Ahmad seems like the one I'm going to have to go for because there's no one else really around that price who's doing anything. So yeah, it's just depends how much do I think Isak is definitely better than Bruno. Yeah. Probably. So
I mean, I was gonna. We could talk about Isak now a little bit. Like, I haven't done any specific notes on him, but how do you view like his fixtures now? I think are not great in the short term. I think Ipswich away seems tough because they're usually quite good at home. They don't often get beat. Villa at home is the one where how porous Villa have been and how good Newcastle can be on their day. I kind of feel like they could score. That could be the game where he's scary. But then it's United away and Spurs away back to back. I feel like maybe that's... I don't know if now is a funny entry point for it.
I feel like they all seem quite good for attacking wise, to be honest. Like the United game will surely be open. The Spurs game is they can't really defend. So if we're saying that Villa at home is a decent fixture, Ipswich on paper is obviously a good fixture.
Yeah.
Then Wolves after that, Bournemouth, like that seems like
and Southampton.
Yeah. So you compare like that for Bruno, who's got what? Bournemouth at home this week, then Wolves, then Newcastle, then Liverpool. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, like Bruno's just not as involved as Isak is because Wilson is completely out now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's what I did. I got rid of Isak that time before, and I was just like, I don't think he's doing much. But now, is he gonna? As soon as I get him back, he's gonna go back to that play. He just doesn't do much, and just looks like he doesn't care.
His hauls are crazy as well. Like he's been, like we said, since game week 10, he's 9, 11, and then 2-1 when we had him, 11, 8, and 11 again. So he's just been a beast basically.
Yeah,
and he could have
hate him so much.
He could have got so many more returns in that Leicester game as well.
Yeah,
like on the highlights, people fluffing chances, but I think it's there's definitely loads of players at the moment who are cash cows who are still in teams. I think, like you mentioned, Bruno is one, and Mbeumo is one, and maybe even Trent is another one because perhaps he's investment. Anyway,
I think it probably is wise to just get on Isak. Isak is going to just go up in price and go up in ownership, and if you're not on him, he's just going to start to hurt you even more and more. And he does have the fixtures to do well, whereas Bruno does, but he's also just probably not going to get anywhere near as much points. So I think it's probably just wise to just get on Isak and deal with it.
Okay. All right, so just finally on United very quickly, I just wondered if it was a case of the defence, but I think it's hard to recommend as there's been so much change, and even the players who do start, like you've experienced with Maz, sometimes get sub pre 60 minutes. I had a look in the league. The most reliable players are Dallo, who's basically played 90 minutes every game. But
Ridiculous.
I know his stats are so bad. One key pass in 5 games and an XA of 0.1, so basically nothing there, and he's not worth the money.
And he's playing as a wing back, and he's just a terrible player anyway. So
I know.
I just don't understand it with him.
No, and then it's Delit. So yeah, I don't. Even though United's fixtures look good, I would, if you're going to get one, I think Onana is the safest, basically.
Yep. I mean, yeah, I've got Mazraoui, and he's got a yellow flag at the moment as a knock. I'm sure he's probably fine, but like, even I'm not sure I'm gonna feel comfortable playing him, or I'm probably gonna have to at some point. But like, even in these good home fixtures, I'm not sure I'm comfortable for any clean sheets here. Bournemouth at home doesn't seem like a clean sheet. Wolves away, probably not. Newcastle home, probably not. Liverpool away, definitely not. Like Southampton at home, maybe the only one, but like I've tried that multiple times, as I said, and so clean sheets against Southampton just not seem to happen for me. Brighton then at home, like Brighton probably score. Fulham away, Fulham probably score. Palace, they probably score. Like it goes on and on. I was just thinking that I can't see any clean sheets here. I just think they're not going to get, or maybe he'll get like past 60 minutes and get subbed off early. But that's the best I'm hoping for right now. It just doesn't seem great. Even though like Onana has like really good points and seems to be racking up clean sheets. It's never when I seem to own him.
No, I know. I look at it. I mean, his numbers recently are just 2, 1, and 2. Like, yeah, I just don't. As you know, I don't like spending a lot of money on a goalkeeper anyway. But it just looks a bit. Yeah, their back line. There could be good options because the fixtures are there, but none of them are really solid picks, are they?
I just feel like it's just going to be one of those. But it looks good on paper, and they'll just continue to concede 1 or 2 just every game probably. Yeah,
not worth it.
Probably like it's kind of like what City defense was doing at times, like in past seasons, where they just like smash games, but then just concede 1. It's just you can't buy a defender from a team that does that.
No.
Yeah. All right. Shall I go for someone?
Let's do
the
it.
team. Okay, so Fulham. A massive one that everyone is pretty much looking at now. Like big swing. Southampton, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Ipswich, West Ham, Leicester, Man United in the next. Up to 23, that is. So bar the Chelsea fixture, Fulham have got green fixtures until game week 23. And that's depending on how you look at the sort of Man United defense, I think, which is not good in my opinion. So the top performing assets, obviously, like Robertson is obviously everyone looking at them right now. So he was 17% owned at the time I did the notes, but I'm sure it's gone up by now. It's 18.5 already. So 10th highest scoring defender on 55 points. But those fixtures are there for him to go way up. 6 assists across 16 games, which is really good. And he's just needs a goal or something like that, and he could be a huge bandwagon. So, but the best XG he's managed all season is 0.07. So, not going to be setting a goal anytime soon. Trent in comparison has got 3 assists. Robertson's 3 ahead of him. Like Robertson's having the sort of season that we expected Trent to have. At the 7 million mark. 3 assists across the season, no goals for Trent. That's not good enough, is it? So, 1.06 XA is second highest of all defenders the last 6 weeks. 2 big chances created is joint second of all defenders, but that's with a fair pile of other players. So Robertson, Southampton at home this week, seems like an absolute no-brainer for someone like me. I've already gone there. Like Nori was straight out my team. I went there I think on the Sunday night because they were both rising. And Nori was dropping and 0.2 swing. I just went for it with 3 transfers. I thought, why not? So he's in. Great, absolutely nailed on. Great fixture run coming. So why not? Fulham are a good team.
He's interesting.
Are you going there?
Well, I think I will do because I'm looking at a number of different things. But this week, I've owned him before at the start of the season, and whilst he's good because he can sneak and assist, Fulham are just deceptively unreliable for clean sheets, especially at home. They haven't had a home clean sheet all season, and I think the most shocking one was when they lost 4-1 at home to Wolves recently. They obviously conceded that one really fluky goal, perhaps not fluky, very good goal against Brentford, which looked like a clean sheet game as well. But it's something. It is a surprise they haven't kept more clean sheets at home. But like you say, he's good for an assist and does pop up with one, which obviously helps his numbers.
Yeah, and obviously their two centre backs out at the moment, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it didn't seem like they were like that bad against it was Liverpool, wasn't it, like last week? So yeah, they didn't seem to be too like struggling defensively, so it was fine. Yeah, another one to mention, obviously Iwobi, 5.7 million, 4.6%. You know, AA Studios in the chat saying he's got onto Iwobi as well, and Robinson this week. So
he's loaded.
Yeah, like for me, Iwobi, like I don't know, like he as I said last week, he has purple patches. Everyone wants to get him, and the 2 games since, like he's had 2 blanks in a row. So like I don't know, he's on 78 points versus Smith Rowe's 61, which is obviously quite a big difference, but he is mostly a 90-minute man, whereas like Smith Rowe has been benched twice, not completed 90 minutes all season. So obviously Iwobi is the pick there at the moment, it seems like. So, but then again, there's Andreas, who's been benched on multiple occasions as well, and he's rarely completed 90 minutes as well. So, and he's also suspended for the Saints game, so he's not an option. Like Iwobi is like clearly the only other option in this Fulham team, I'd say. Obviously, there is Jimenez. 5.5 million, 5.2%. So he's a differential, but is he definitely nailed on to start every game? Not sure. He came off early. Muniz scored the other day. Muniz started one the other day. With this congestion of fixtures coming up, like I don't think he's going to be nailed on for all these minutes. So, Iwobi, I'm just not sure. Jimenez, I'm just not sure. So I think honestly, it's probably Robinson and then maybe Leno at the same time. I don't think you should go anyone else, to be honest. It's a sad thing to say with all those fixtures. Like, I mean, if you're looking for someone else to go for, but like maybe you want to get rid of Rodgers for a while and just punt on Iwobi, then maybe he'll do something. He probably will get a return in these fixtures, but I think he's a bit pants.
I think they're just from owning like Fulham forward earlier in the season and owning Smith Rowe for a bit. Their previous good fixture run, they were a bit underwhelming. They're kind of like Bournemouth in that like there isn't like one big talisman and they share. There's a lot like so I think that's which I've learned from owning Semenyo. But yeah, I feel like there's not a good enough talisman in the team, and I think you're probably going to get onto Raul in a minute, who's basically like obviously well touted, but if you have a look at his like minutes recently, there's loads of like 70 subs and 60s, and he's already experienced like basically just rested in favour of Munoz because they've got that backup striker there, and there's absolute a guarantee that he'll probably miss one of the juicy games over Christmas in where he'll just need to be rotated. So I kind of think he's no buy as well.
Maybe that's not a bad thing at the same time, but if he misses the juicy fixtures, then that's not ideal. But a 5.5 million player missing out on one fixture, it's not the worst, but he's getting minutes reduced as well. So I don't like it. Obviously last week he had an XG and an XA versus Liverpool of 0.0 on both. So and then he one return in the last 6 weeks. So the kind of purple patch of form, he had that for a while, same as Iwobi. Like it's dried up, and maybe it'll come back with fixtures. Maybe it will. So if you go in there, then just go for it, I guess. But I can't suggest it, to be honest.
I absolutely think they're going to like concede against Southampton this weekend as well.
Of course they will.
New manager bounce for that one. It's just it's going to be crazy.
Honestly, it's probably about the 5th or 6th time I've banked really hard on clean sheets against Southampton at home, and it's never coming.
And I don't think it's going to come in with Fulham either. Even though I like Robinson as a general squad pick anyway, but I can't even see that. All right, and another team who've basically got a bit of a glow up. I say a bit of a glow up. I was having a look at the fixtures on Hub again and who it rates. And I actually don't mind some of Southampton's fixtures. Like, not Southampton, West Ham. I know Southampton also have good fixtures, but I'm not going there even with their new manager bounce. But I actually think like West Ham's look okay, and I think if you're looking to get away from Mbeumo, he's maybe not the worst shout. I mean, we keep sort of talking about him, but his next sort of
Bowen, you say?
Maybe no one else from West Ham, which is why I'm just not going to spend too much time on him. But he has, because I've been looking at him because he's got decent fixtures over the next 6. So Brighton at home, who we say have been struggling recently, just conceded 3 against West Ham, Southampton, which I think is a game where they're going to come out and try and attack because they'll obviously need points. So there's opportunities for him there. Liverpool at home, admittedly, is tricky. City away is somewhat difficult because of their form recently. And then Fulham and Crystal Palace back-to-back at home, which I think are fine. And then if you look at his team stats for the last 6, West Ham are not great. Expected goals of 9.6 and 9th best, about mid-table. 7% owned, so he's a differential, which is great. He's already on 9 returns this season, but the important factor I liked about it was 6 of the returns he's got so far this season have come at home. And with Brighton, Fulham, Crystal Palace and Liverpool at home in the next sort of 6, that did sort of make me think, yeah, he could be a good option. And his price is sort of similar to Mbeumo as well, if you wanted to keep that money in
yeah, if I could afford Bowen and then get Isak as well, then that would be great, but can't.
No, I think he's just going to and he's really good for minutes. We've said before, let's see if I can.
Not on penalties though.
He's not on penalties. Like. No,
unless Paqueta's not on the pitch.
Yeah, but he's solid for minutes. I don't think he's the first 18 or basically the first game of the season he missed 18 minutes, but yeah, he seems to basically do well at home against not great teams, and 3 of the next sort of 6 games are good-looking home fixtures. So yeah, I don't mind him at all. I had a look at whether their defence was worth recommending for these home fixtures, and I said not really. Their expected goals conceded in the last 6 games has been 10.5, which admittedly is better than Spurs and Man City, but it's 15th overall. And yeah, I think probably some good. I mean, if people haven't played their wildcard now, I'm sure they have. Fabianski still seems to be first choice. He's had 2 clean sheets in the 8 games since he's been in, and of those 8 games, he's had 1 save point in at least 6 of them. So yeah, he's for 4.1 million now. Seems like he's a good option. I was going to talk about Wan-Bissaka keep getting these jammy assists, but
yeah, I've got Verbruggen and Fabianski. Who would you start in this game?
Oh, I'd probably just back Fabianski. Probably back Fabianski.
Well, but obviously I've got Pedro as well, who's starting, so it's just this is
save
tricky.
all his shots.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd be tempted. Yeah, Bowen would be nice because I feel like Bowen's going to score against Verbruggen. That just seems like it's nailed on. So if I start Verbruggen, that's just going to happen. And then Pedro will probably take the clean sheet from Fabianski as well. So
I'd have a look at who's been better for save points and just probably pick on that.
It's probably Fabianski.
Fabianski, I would say.
Yeah.
And
even though Brighton's defense, they do a lot of passing out from the back, and Verbruggen just doesn't seem to get many saves either. Even though they're conceding loads of goals.
Are they scoring that many? No, they scored 1. Oh, they scored 2 and 1. They've basically scored roughly 1 goal away from home in each of their last. So he's probably going to get 2. Fabianski's going to get 2 points minimum and some save points maybe.
Yeah, Brighton have just been found out a little bit. I feel like since their strong start of the season, they've just slowed down, haven't they? Certainly.
Definitely no wins in 4 now. So,
yeah. So another team, Palace. Everyone's starting to look at them as well. Obviously, this week probably not the best entry point with Arsenal at home, but after that, Bournemouth, Southampton at home, Chelsea at home, Leicester away, West Ham United away, Brentford at home. That's a good run of green fixtures to get as well. So defensive wise, Munoz looking really good recently. 4.7 million, 3.1%, big differential. He's dropped 3.3 as well. So a good time to get onto him if you're going there. Probably next week though, even though because he is actually banned this week too. But a cheap attacking wing back option that plays really far forward, which is obviously we've seen recently where he's got 2 goals scored and he had 1 disallowed versus Brighton as well last week. 3 clean sheets across the season, which obviously isn't amazing, but the fixtures are there to get a few more. He could start to sort of double that clean sheets maybe by the end of this run. 6 clean sheets would be lovely. Glasner starting to kind of get them to sort of tick a little bit. Points wise since game week 11 it's 1-1 11 6 7 1. So there's a little bit of consistency coming in with those 11 6 and 7 all in a row. So I quite like him as option. If you're looking Mazraoui for me might be someone who I could sort of move on to him. Seems quite good. Just a decent person to just slot in and play pretty much every week for the foreseeable.
I agree with your point also about playing him every week. He's the kind of player because he's so attacking. You typically bench him in a game away from home, but that's the game you might return him because his position's not changing, and you're buying him probably for his goal threat in those games.
Yeah, Bournemouth away from home seems good.
Yeah.
Leicester away from home, West Ham away from home. Those seem like games that you could certainly do something
Man
attacking
United
wise.
as well. That's probably the one he'll
Yeah.
score in.
Yeah. And then Sarr, I think Late Riser apparently was talking about him like last week, and obviously he got his haul. But I've just got to mention him just because of what he's been doing. So 5.7 million, 0.4%. He's been kind of sneakily nailed on since game week 10. He's kind of like a good accompaniment to Eze in the midfield, like with capable of creating and scoring. Since game week 11, he's had 2, 13, 2, 2, and then 17. So he's a little bit feast or famine.
Yeah.
So he's either going to blank or he's going to haul. So I think you could probably take a blank in a couple if he's going to get a 17 or 13 pointer in the next one. Obviously, he's around that price of Rodgers, of Ahmad, Enzo. So yeah, not too bad. Obviously, an uber differential at the moment. I have fond memories of owning him a few years ago when he played for Watford, and I got onto him early, and he got a brace in a couple of games and started to do really well. And yeah, he could be someone to look at because Eze's had such an underwhelming season so far.
He's been so poor.
That Sarr is possibly the one to go for. Yeah, speaking of Eze, like 6.6 million now, 7.5% owned, 1 goal and 2 assists across 16 game weeks. Obviously injured a little bit, but like coming back from injury, he's got basically nothing. I think he's got an assist so far. Hooked sub 60 minutes last week, so I feel like I just wouldn't really go there.
I wonder if that was for tonight for Carabao Cup, because Mateta came off early as well. Made me think that because I think they got Arsenal.
Possible, I suppose.
Cup.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah.
So maybe they're really trying hard to win a cup.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. Glasnow's probably going to want to try and get as far in a cup competition. Is probably the best route to anything for Palace, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, he's just not. He's missed Elise big time. Like 1 goal, 2 assists for Eze is just, and he had such a good start to the season with like the fixture wise anyway, and people were all on him.
Yeah.
And he's just been really poor. Like one of the most underwhelming players all season so far. Yeah, Mateta 7.2 million now, 2.4%. Again, he's probably hard to suggest. Even though these fixtures are there, it's just he had such a good season last season, which saw him go up in price, but he's just been priced out of most all teams because 7.5 was just way too expensive. 4 goals, 1 assist, and that's just the price has just proved to just be too much. With he's not doing enough. He's getting benchings. He's had some early subs. And Nketiah was back again, like back fit again, and he probably the reason he got hooked early, but maybe it was for this Arsenal thing, as you say. But yeah, if you do want to go there, like we obviously have really good memories of last season when they went massive in those double game weeks. Maybe they can do it again, but that Elise is just such a big miss, and obviously he's doing well in at Bayern and ripping it up there as well. So like Sarr is certainly not the player Elise is. So yeah, I feel like they're probably worth getting on to at least one of them. And it's just who you pick. Those fixtures are there to attack at least. Hopefully they can pick up more form. Maybe they beat Arsenal tonight, who knows? And then we'll start to look at, we'll be like, oh my god, Mateta and Eze, like let's do it. But until then,
I don't really know what's happened to Mateta. Like, really, do you think like he's dropped to 7.2? Do you think it's just because? Do you think it was just as as simple as he was overpriced, or do you think it really was like Elise that helped lift that team? Because like only 5 returns, and he's only. I was just having a look. He's
it's
played
probably Elise.
Least,
like just a huge cog, a creative force of just scoring goals, and just has just gone. And they haven't replaced that. Like Kamada was supposed to be a replacement. Sarr was supposed to come. Like, and they haven't done it. They just haven't been good enough. And it's just all like Eze underperforming as well. Just everyone underperforming basically. But they do have a great manager. But they were really good last season. So if they can just start to pick it up again, that would be fantastic. And they will become good assets. But until then, I think it's just Munoz maybe, and then just Eze if you really want to. But Sarr could be good. 7.2 still seems a bit much for Mateta, but
I agree.
I guess we'll see.
He might have penalties. Harry in the chat says he thinks Sarr is a better option than Enzo, Diallo, etc. for him, which could be, especially with the fixtures.
Maybe
he's probably more. He's probably more focal to their attack. Probably got a higher. I haven't looked, but I would guess that his expected goal involvement is perhaps higher than those two. think
Is he a better option than Ahmad? Oh, don't know. Maybe.
I'd say it's quite similar, to be honest.
But like,
It's a
whereas
worse
Ahmad's been
team.
pretty, Ahmad's been pretty like consistent in getting like a couple of assists and scoring like most game weeks, whereas Sar's been like,
explosive.
2 or 17. Like, what's better in that case? Probably like I think I've put it here as like his average of points per game was 6 for over that game week 11 to 16. 6 points per game is obviously great, and that's probably roughly the same as Ahmad's is.
I think if you look at them a bit like I kind of mentioned with leaving in Buemo on the bench, and we've all got this luxury now because we seem to have like loads of money to put into our squad rather than our first 11 if we don't have Haaland. His 2 returns at 5.7 have both been away from home, so it's almost against Villa and Brighton. So it's almost like you'd want to have him as your 4th midfielder starting, because you could just miss a return like that on your bench and you'd be kicking yourself. So it's almost like you've got to pick your poison and go with it.
Well, he's got Arsenal in the cup, and then he's got Arsenal at home and in the league as well. So that'll be interesting to see how he does tonight, I suppose.
Nick Fadley's given us some. He's either gone into the future and then come back and told us what the scores are going to be, or he's done some predictions. I heard that. I think Slot say that they were going to rotate the team load. So that's probably why he's predicted.
Do you mean Arteta or?
Sorry, no, Slot. Yeah. I think he said he was going to rotate. Hang on, I'm just trying to work out how he's like listed these scores out. 2-0 Arsenal, 2-0 Newcastle, 3-0 Liverpool. I thought Newcastle were playing Liverpool. Maybe I'm going mad.
No, Liverpool plays Southampton.
Oh, that's right.
Arsenal, Palace, Newcastle vs Brentford.
That's right. Spurs, Man United. I am
mad. Are Chelsea out of the cup? The Carabao Cup? Didn't think they were, but maybe they are. Yeah, I guess they are.
And Harry also said thoughts on Maddison. We haven't really. We could chat about him a little bit because we haven't got to. I think it's a bit funny with this stupid assist roll, which they wrote in another article on today, that Maddison just tweeted that he intended the pass to Son as a joke, I think, and then he just got awarded the assist for it. Like, I think it's cool, really cool that players are like getting involved with fantasy football. I don't know. What did you think about as a Hall owner about the objectively about that assist? I just don't think they can say a ball is intended for someone it doesn't get to.
I think Andy FPL, Let's Talk FPL, put a thing out about it as well, and he said it kind of doesn't matter if a player intends for the ball to go there, which that's their original intention. If the ball's not heading that way, it doesn't matter if it was their intention. If it's not going that way, who cares? It's where the ball is going and the trajectory. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if anyone could just be kick it from the halfway line and say, I was trying to get to my goalkeeper, even though it went in, they could be like, oh, it's my intended to go to the goalkeeper, Yeah. But
So from that, he's saying that an assist should only be awarded if a pass goes from player A to player B directly and player B then scores. No interference. Is that what he means by that?
No, I don't think he was saying. He was just saying that it just depends on where the ball actually was going, the trajectory of the ball.
Oh, I see.
The player just saying it was supposed to go to that person doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just where the ball actually goes and ends up. If the deflection, or if it looks like it's going to that player and it gets deflected slightly, then that's an assist. Yeah. If it looks like it's going to that player but gets deflected hugely and goes the other way, then it's not an assist.
Because I think, I've only watched the Hall one once when I watched the highlights, and it didn't show very, very much. But to me, on first viewing, it's one of those ones where it looks like if it didn't have the deflection, Isak wouldn't have got there. But was it? How do they judge what was intended? Did he mean to pass it to him?
I think that one's odd as well. I think they probably should have not awarded that one to Hall, to be honest, because it looks like the trajectory of the ball was going way behind Isak.
He's just putting it in there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the one with the Bremo. It looks like the ball was going towards Visser, and he was in the location of the ball, so that he was the first intended sort of direction or whatever. Then it ends up going to Sade for that goal. Whereas the ball from Hall looks like it's just going into the box, and it
Yeah.
looks like it's going way behind Isak, and then the deflection brings it into his area, and he heads it in. So that to me shouldn't be an assist. I don't know. We're getting into too much.
I kind of think
semantics here,
they just. I think they've made it too difficult for themselves by this intended. I think they should just simplify, because everyone will be happier. I think, well, maybe the rules would be easier to follow. If player A passes the ball to player B and the pass is not interrupted, either opposing player or not, like player B controls it and then scores, that's an assist.
Yeah,
I don't think, like, I'm fine with ones where a keeper has a shot, fine, and it bounces back, or a defender, maybe it hits a defender if it's on target.
I kind of don't like that as an assist, because that's not intended, is it?
That's true.
It's never intended to rebound off the keeper and go to that player.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
okay, let's scrap that one as well. So it's if a player A passes to player B with no deviation, player B controls it, and then finishes, that's an assist, and that's it.
Yeah, but that's boring, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
So less points.
Oh God. If we were gonna, but then if they want to have more points, they should have more points for like tangible things.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, let's move on.
Cool. Right, we've been quite a while.
Do we have? Yeah. I'll just mention City quickly.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, really good run of fixtures now. Yeah, you were talking about Haaland on Boxing Day. Everton at home seems great. Of the Villa fixture, doesn't seem bad either this weekend. And then they got Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich, Chelsea. Like, that's a really good run of fixtures. Since game week 10, though, like 5 losses, 1 win, and 1 draw. I think it's 1 win in 11 or something. So yeah, terrible. To me, it's just like the way Pep like approaches losing seems to be like really kind of odd, and he's just not really changing anything, and keeps playing players that are out of form, but at the same time, like, fixtures obviously breed form too, so the fixtures are there for them to pummel a few teams. And the Forest game, I didn't see them pummeling. It was 3-0, but this Everton game at home, could be scary for non-owners of Haaland. So
you say that Everton just got a clean sheet away against Arsenal.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Young returning again.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
Bastard. Yeah. So Haaland, 14.9 million. So he's dropped 0.6% now. Is it? Or did he start at 15? No, he started at 15. Yeah. So but he did get to 15.4. 38% owned now, and obviously he was around 70 plus owned. 100 points makes him, he's roughly 50 odd points behind Salah, which is crazy. He's obviously still the top scoring striker though. 10 above Wood, and Wood is second, and he's had 7 blanks and 0 double-digit scores in the last since game week 5.
Crazy.
So
he's still top.
It's still top, and he's still 10 points ahead, which is maybe that's just showing how the other strikers are bad, even though it seems like they've been quite good this year, weirdly.
I agree.
So still top for forwards for shots, big chances, and second on XG. So his stats are still there. He's just not converting them. At some point, he obviously will, kind of like in that game in one of the Champions League games during this run of form.
Yeah,
he did slot 2 of them away, and he ended up with a brace. So, I feel like he's probably going to get points. Let's just hope. I'm probably still not going to go there. I'm just going to hope he's not going to get massive falls. Just a couple. Maybe Everton do something nice and give me a nice little belated Christmas present and do nothing. He does nothing there, but Leicester away, that feels like a game where he could absolutely destroy Leicester. So there is good fixtures. So
you just look at that block, and it's just like screams out differential opportunity. What do you say his ownership was now? 49.
It's 38 the last I looked.
Yeah, don't know. I just quite like it. I know his price is still a but if you've got enough fixtures and you don't quite fancy Isak, Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich, or maybe not Ipswich, and their form stinks. How bad can their form? Look at those losses. It's crazy.
So who would you sacrifice in order to get him?
Probably Saka. After that blank against Everton, but I don't know how much wiggle room you'd need to have to make it work.
Yeah, he was so good for those couple of weeks, and he's had 3 blanks in a row since then. So Saka has been a little bit inconsistent recently.
But I'm not saying it's a definite I would, but I'd say Haaland has definitely fallen out of the main template probably of active players at the moment, pretty
100%.
much out of there. So if there is an opportunity to gain a little bit of ground, I don't know. I kind of think if you had him, you'd almost want to have to captain him to get that double benefit, and that's just, it's crazy. That seems like such a risk after all the times he'd been poor before. So yeah, but even in the analysis of the game against United, which I watched on Monday Night Football, he just looked like sluggish and off it, and they were saying he was just not making a run. So
even so, that Everton at home fixture seems great, but then Salah's got Leicester at home that week, so
you wouldn't captain him for that one.
Yeah, but you'd want to, like you say, you're bringing him in with such, and he's a differential, and he's Haaland. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that Leicester away game, I'd consider it, but I don't know who Salah's got that week. He
has, I can tell you, West Ham away, which is
similar.
Not so good. Yeah.
And I don't know if he's too expensive to own to just to have. Right. Okay. Let's just jump on because we've nearly been an hour or more. So just on Chelsea then. So over the next 6 game weeks, they are only behind Fulham and on the Hub's fixture ticker. So, and their fixtures in the short term, I mean, we know they're good. They're Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, and Wolves. So some really nice fixtures. Let me just bring them up on screen here as well. So I think feasibly they could be top of the league at the end of this run, basically by the end of January. They got obviously the great balance between Europe and the league, which Poole and Arsenal, Liverpool and Arsenal don't have. They're basically playing second string and able to swap them out. And I kind of think now, based on how good they've been, they could feasibly win the league based on squad depth. Which at the start of the season and summer we were like, what are they doing buying all these players? And now we're like, wasn't it smart buying all those players? Probably like the form team in the league, 5 wins.
It's probably just because it's like the Conference League as well. They wouldn't rotate so many if they were like Champions League,
No, I agree. No, I kind of think that it's just fallen into their hands, and they're the most informed team in the league with 5 wins in their last 5, and I just think they look good. And I wanted to get your thoughts on Jackson again because I'll go on to Cunha replacements in a minute. Perhaps I can just bring Jackson into the conversation for that. So in the last 5 game weeks, he's had 4 returns in that time, despite missing 1 game. He's actually the 3rd highest scoring striker with 29 points in that time, only behind Isak, who's had 34, and Cunha, who's had 30. 3rd highest for XG of all strikers in that same period, but not in the top 10 for XA in the same time frame. I think he obviously looks like a solid option, but for me, if you're having like one mid-price forward, I just still do think Isak's the better pick, because they're similar in price now, but it's like 0.5 difference because Isak's just gone like a rocket ship in the last few game weeks. But in the same period, Isak's bettered him for XG, and because he's the top performing, and Isak's the top performing striker for XA. Probably, injury barring, is more reliable for minutes. Plus, he's got pens, and we've seen that Jackson missed the midweek game at the start of December. So if that continues, it looks like he would probably miss that good-looking but not great Ipswich game, which is game week 19, Ipswich away, because that's the one which is sort of sandwiched between the quick turnaround time, Fulham and Palace.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'd just be interested because you're obviously a Jackson owner. I'm looking at him obviously because the fixtures are great, and depending on this Cunha ban / fixture swing, he could be someone I go to. But I don't know. Do you still like him at that price point, or have you still got that annoyance that you haven't got Isak?
For me, I want to have both of them.
Right.
Simple as that, really. I think the fixtures are obviously so good, and he is still returning, and he missed a boatloads of chances in the last game as well. Yeah. So he could have pulled more, and he would have made up for the Isak not having Isak. And the 2 fixtures that I obviously owned Isak for, where he blanked and Jackson was doing really well, and then I switched, and then obviously Jackson blanked 2 in a row, and Isak. But so at the time being, right now, I think everyone should own both of them. With all the money that we've got with not owning Haaland, own both of them. Simple as that, really.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. They've both got good enough fixtures, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, if he misses one, then so be it. But at the same time, the other fixtures are there for him to do well. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And so I obviously factor him into Cunha replacement. So we haven't really talked about Cunha with his ban. So obviously he got charged by the FA yesterday, and then he's got until Thursday to respond. So I think that basically the premise is he's either going to get banned from this weekend if he pleads guilty.
Yeah.
If he pleads not guilty, then there will be like a suspended one, so it will be banned later
There's
in the season.
Nothing to plead.
Yeah, but I
certainly can't do not guilty.
Well, I kind of think if they do, they'll look at that Leicester game as an important one, and they'll think, let's plead not guilty so we can play this weekend.
Yeah,
I would guess. But anyway, points for either side basically. If you look, I think downgrades a similar price. I kind of looked at, because upgrades it's still a big leap to players who are ahead of him, because his selling value for most people is going to be like 6'8", 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
Jimenez, obviously we talked about him earlier, so I won't go into too much. That's a fixtures based decision, I think. His stats aren't that great and his numbers aren't reliable. Let me just bring up the fixtures. Obviously Southampton, Bournemouth and Ipswich, 3 home games the next 4, but we think he might miss one of those. I think the spicy pick I looked at might be Højlund. So he's scored the highest number of goals of any United player under Amorim, but only 1 in the league since the new manager. He's played more than 75 minutes in 2 of the last 3. He scored 1 goal and got 2 bonus against Forest. It's a fixtures play, not like any stats-based play. Maybe United will get better, and he has some 4 good home fixtures in the next 6, and an away trip to Wolves.
Yeah.
So, but he's always like a little bit injury prone, so that's a maybe. And then the only other downgrade I think, or who's reliable, is Wood. Obviously, he's going to play. It's not a very attacking team. The fixtures are quite mixed for Forest. Let me just remind myself what they are. Brentford away.
Brentford, Spurs, Everton, Wolves.
Yeah, so Brentford away, good. Tottenham at home, I would say, okay. Everton away, meh. Wolves away, okay. And then Liverpool home, Southampton at home. So they're like mixed. And like I say, Forest aren't great from an attacking point of view, but he's usually been quite clinical. And I think he'd probably he'd have a lot more chance of winning this week if he'd been onside. Very marginal, because it would have been like another, I think it would have been like 3 out of 4 game week returns. So yeah, I think Brentford is a good entry point for him. And then upgrades, we've already discussed Isak and Jackson really. So I think there's quite a lot in the category really. Is there any forwards?
There's Mateta. You could go.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Then Havertz maybe, I guess, is an upgrade. Solanke I don't think is the worst option.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, there is a few.
I think if he obviously defers it, that would be great if you were going to get Solanke or Mateta, because I'd say they've got tougher games this week. Obviously Crystal Palace have got Arsenal and Spurs have got Liverpool, so then it's a nicer entry point for both those teams in game week 18.
Agree.
Cool. All right. Well, should we, if anyone's got any questions, drop them in the chat now that we haven't already covered, but shall we have a look at our teams and what we're going to do?
Yes.
You're probably going to do nothing by the look of it. Look at that team.
I think so. Is it up on screen?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So at the moment, I think I'm just rolling.
In fact, I think I've got your right team.
Actually, having said that, no, I think you do.
No, it says
no, you don't.
No, I'll update it while you're talking.
It doesn't matter. Okay, well, I've got Verbruggen, West Ham away at the moment. Hall, Ipswich away. Gabriel starting. Robinson at Southampton at home. I've got Salah captain at the moment, Tottenham, and then Bruno, Bournemouth home, then Palmer, Saka, Jackson, Pedro, and Vista. The bench at the moment is Fabianski, Rodgers, Mazraoui, and Cucurella. I'll probably start Fabianski instead of Verbruggen because of the home fixture. Makes sense, I think. But I am looking at possible. I've obviously used one for Aït-Nouri to Robertson already. I've got 2 other free transfers where I'm looking at possibly Bruno to either Ahmad or maybe Sarr, I guess, and then Vissa / Pedro, probably Vissa because he's not on penalties and minutes are starting to get reduced, up to Isak, and just have that nice double Jackson and Isak and Pedro and lots of penalty takers, and feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think that sounds quite nice, to be honest. So how many free transfers have you got at the moment?
So I did have 3 and I've got 2 left because I've obviously done the Robinson one.
Cool. Oh, nice. I've just updated the graphic, by the way.
Yeah, so it would be for free if I do it. And I don't know, it seems a good time to do it, I suppose.
So you got no real qualms about like losing Wissa before Forest? Or you're not really a bit like meh on that?
I mean, yeah, he could do fine, but I think Forest are pretty good defensively. I mean, obviously Brentford are good at home as well, but And then obviously Bruno at Bournemouth at home is
Good,
a good
yeah.
fixture, but he's also not doing that much. And I think Bournemouth are fairly decent defensively. So, yeah, at the moment, I feel like that's probably the way to go. Cucurella, I would have liked to have started, but
Yeah.
obviously got banned. But I probably wouldn't have started him over anyone here anyway. So, yeah, that's it.
Is Mazraoui out? Is that why you're thinking he's going to be benched over Hall? Or do you think that...
I think, yeah, I don't actually know. I think I would just play Hall anyway. I think Ipswich, it was obviously not a great fixture, but I think Delap is out. I think he got banned, as far as I know. So, yeah, I like Hall away. Well, I don't like him away from home, but I like the fixture. So, yeah, that's debatable, isn't it, between these two?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, okay. All right, looking good. Right. So I think my main thing is work. Oh, we haven't really talked about captaincy. Salah was like the auto pick because I think Tottenham are going to give up more big chances than Everton, funnily enough.
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah.
All right.
Although I think Palmer did score 4 against Everton last year, but it was at home.
Oh,
so,
okay.
other than that, I think I saw on Twitter there was some discourse about like Everton away has been pretty tough for Chelsea in recent years. So, yeah, there's the reason to not go there and to favour Salah, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I just think big game away at Spurs. I kind of think it's going to be open and expect him to do well, to be honest. So I got Flecken. So I'm going to start Flecking over Fabianski, just because I think Brighton are probably slightly more likely to score than Forest, but there's probably not much in it.
No.
I got Trent playing away at Spurs, which isn't like a great fixture. Gabriel got Crystal Palace. Dean at the moment I'm starting against City. Salah captain.
Really? Instead of Milinkovic?
Well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. He's like a placeholder for Robinson, I think. And then Saka and Buemo at home, obviously. Wood, Cunha and Pedro. So I think the plan is if Cunha's not banned and will play the Leicester game, that seems fine to me because that looks like a good fixture based on the number of chances they're conceding, and they should have new manager bounce factor. So that looks like a good fixture. So that in that case, I'm just going to do Dean to Robinson with 3 of my transfers and then roll. If Cunha's out and banned, it seems like a good opportunity to get on Isak. So I'm weighing up. It should be a bit crazy because I kind of think Trent's nut returns have been a bit underwhelming, and I feel like I've just spent getting Trent in and out recently.
Would that be the only way to avoid it? Would it?
Well, I could downgrade Buemo, but I still think Buemo might be a better pick than Trent as well.
Yeah,
I could get Buemo down. So yeah, I don't know. So if Cunha's out, I'm thinking about maybe doing Cunha to Isak, Semenyo to Dibbling, and Trent to Saliba or VVD. I can just about.
Yeah.
So
nice.
it would keep a Liverpool or a second Arsenal defender, and then I'd have just pittance on the bench basically, but then have Isak in the squad, and I think that would be okay.
Yeah, well, that seems quite good.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a difficult one this week. I think I'm hoping that I can keep hold of Cunha for one more week and then delay my Isak decision and then judge it better next week. Although I think if it comes to it next week and I kind of want him, I'm definitely going to be less reluctant to sell Trent when he's got Leicester at home.
Definitely.
I just don't think. I just don't think he seems that likely to haul. Do you know what I mean? And I don't.
Especially not with this game. You expect them to concede, I would guess.
Yeah. So it's tricky. It's tricky with him at the minute. Whereas Isak's only like slightly more expensive and has been hauling for fun. So I definitely do think overall this season as well, defenders have been so underwhelming.
Big time.
And maybe it doesn't really matter who you pick.
Almost, not really, because to be honest, like who saw Hall's 15-pointer coming? Like no one really.
No one.
Like obviously we started him against Leicester and you hoped for the good points, but didn't see 15 coming.
No, I know. So it's all a bit up in the air, kind of based on what Cunha's going to do, because obviously that would unlock Isak. But if I can go another week without getting him and then get him for Boxing Day, that seems fine, and I'll have 4 transfers to do something. It's funny, isn't it? Like I think in the last season, I very rarely, like ever, got to 2 transfers and was even like thinking about burning them, and now I'm like the second time this season I'm already rolling over 3 moves. Don't you think that seems strange? Do you think it's because we
this
can?
week maybe.
Do you think
I
that's
think this week is the first time I've got past 2 free transfers all season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's circumstantial a bit because Haaland like kind of locks you into having lots of premiums so you don't need to move.
Possibly.
All right, cool. All right, should we wrap up there?
Yep, long one.
Cool. We'll try and do maybe a short one before Boxing Day somehow. Maybe Monday.
We'll see about that.
Maybe,
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back sometime. We'll post about it. Until then, have a nice couple of game weeks.
Yeah. Cheers all.
Bye.